Okay, Migohanen everyone, and welcome back to, I guess, update um, my thoughts type of video on the Tainted Grail, Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon. It is August 9, 2025, and first of all, I want to thank Cinematics29 again, my dear friend Chris, for gifting that to me a little while back. I really enjoy the game and have been enjoying it, but for now I think I'm going to have to put that game on hiatus. It would be a prolonged hiatus. I'm not exactly sure if I, or when or if, I guess I'm going to get back to it. And I guess I'll give a couple reasons why, or a few reasons why. There are other games that I want to focus on right now, which is mostly Elder Scrolls related, and with the upcoming The Wayward Realms from Once Lost, that one I absolutely want to play when it comes out. I also have my Wizardry 8, but that one I'm not recording or playing too frequently. It's just every so often. I do have still a bunch of Tainted Grail and some of those other games releasing. I haven't really recorded anything new other than there's the Hexen video and the video response that I put up, and then my thoughts on the Skyblivion. But for the Let's Plays, the stuff you've been seeing has been recorded over the past couple months, I want to say, maybe more, especially by the time when you see them. But the thing about Fall of Avalon is I know there are a lot of folks that, especially back then when it was first new, hold on, I have to use this thing for my lumber. Especially when it was first new, they like to make a lot of comparison to Skyrim or Oblivion Remastered, and there would be titles of videos called Bethesda, This Is How It's Done, or Skyrim Killer, or Todd Should Take Notes, Todd Howard, things like that. But you don't see so much about that anymore because it's not new. People like to do that. I've noticed a lot of times people like to fight. They especially, I don't know why, they just like to do that. But you don't really see so much of that. Either they've just moved on. It's no longer a hot game anymore because it's not new, or they just really don't, care about it anymore. So. And then moved on, or they never really thought that and just wanted to jump on the bandwagon and get in on that, but they don't really care for that genre. That's what I feel. That's how I feel about that. But with Tainted Grail, it is a cool game, and I do like it. I do enjoy it a lot, but I still feel that games like Skyrim and Oblivion Remastered, an Elder Scrolls game really is still a bit better, quite a bit better, especially for my role-playing style. I've noticed that, I think it was called Horn of the South, or Horns of the South, and that's really the only town there is, because the game is split up in like 3, maybe 4 acts. So each of the acts, you get a town, very much like, Diablo 2, right? You have the Rogue Encampment for Act 1, and then Loot Ghislaine for Act 3, like that. And then I can't, what was the other one? The Marshlands one, I can't remember. And then the Sanctuary, for the 4th act, right? So kind of like that. But this is an RPG, not an action RPG. It's an RPG like that's comparable to Oblivion or Skyrim. But I've noticed, wandering the world, because I've played Tainted Grail for quite some time now, and you'll see more episodes upcoming. The whole world has this kind of dead look, so it's very much, I guess, like a Dark Souls or a Souls-like. And I guess that's why it was compared to, or being called Souls-like, right? Because it is like a cross between, let's say, like an Oblivion or a Skyrim, combined with a Dark Souls. And that's fine, that's cool. I like it, but I walk around and the world it feels otherworldly, unearthly. Like I can't really relate to the surroundings. There aren't lush forests I can just roam through or take in the sights, even though the sights do look astonishing, to look at, but for a different reason. If you want to see some kind of otherworldly landscape, but in terms of something more rooted in reality, I know I'm saying that it's kind of strange, using that term for a fantasy RPG, something like Skyrim or Oblivion. I'll even go back to something like Morrowind and Daggerfall. But that's limited to the graphics at the time. But when you use your imagination, you have to kind of envision, the full scope of the land, especially something like Daggerfall and Arena. They couldn't make it how they can make things, make the graphics and the forests and the towns the way they can now. So you do have to use a lot of your imagination, but they mean it to be something like that, like a Lord of the Rings or Conan, something like that. So just with Tainted Grail, I notice it seems like you don't have your typical NPCs wandering about and even going off on their own schedule or bumping into NPCs out on the road, because everything is completely hostile. The whole world is hostile now. I know, in like an Elder Scrolls game, you have a lot of hostile creatures, but it's not it's how can I put this? I don't know the word for it, but you still see it's like the roads are unsafe. You can get attacked by bandits and creatures and wolves and things like that. But the difference there is you still have like the Black Horse Courier, still going about their business, and NPCs traveling from one city to the next. You can still, the NPCs roam the world still, just as much as you do, with equal amount of danger, as the NPC, that kind of thing. In here, it's quite different because the whole world is unnatural and everything is hostile. Now maybe that's because of the plot, of what the game is, but that's the thing that I don't really like so much, I guess, being like that. And I guess that is where the Souls-like elements come in. So that is why I want to put that on hold. It's a fun game, and I love it. And I have to thank Chris again, because when he gifted it to me, he said that he didn't care for it when he played the demo, so he wanted to gift it to me, the full game. Somehow he got a hold of it, or maybe bought it and then changed his mind and gave it to me. He said that because you didn't have to pay for it, you don't have to feel so bad if you end up not liking it, even though that's not really the case. If I bought it, I probably would like it. I would still like it, but I would like it a little bit less, that kind of thing. But because I didn't have to pay for it, it's not so bad. Even though I still like the game, I just don't think it's a Skyrim killer to me. It's not a Skyrim killer or Oblivion Killer, as they've been putting it. To me, I find those games are a bit more accessible to, a typical, RPG player. Not even typical, just any kind of RPG, or whether you're like a hardcore RPG fan or something like from the old days, from the 90s, 80s, 90s, up until now, or even casual player. It's more appealing because more broader, more broader range. Whereas I feel that Tainted Grail is more focused on, a type of grimdark world, and which is what it is. It is a grimdark world, but more focused with a Souls-like type of gameplay. Even the combat has that kind of feel to it. Okay, so that's why I wanted to put out this video. It's actually a bit longer than what I thought, so I'm putting it on hold for now, and I might even delete. I was thinking maybe I'll keep it on there just in case I decide to play, but I really, as I said, there are other games I want to focus on more, and I was also thinking if I was to delete that along with maybe a couple other games to try to make room for Mass Effect, right? I have the Mass Effect Legendary collection that has all 3 of the Mass Effect games, but the problem with that is you have to install it all as one thing, so all 3, not just one at a time. So it takes up a lot more space, like 110 or so gigabytes, like 110, 120 gigabytes. That's a lot of space to clear up. Second of all, it's very narrative driven, and completely, a lot of cutscenes, and not much variation in watching. If you're watching like my Let's Play of Mass Effect and someone else's, 10 other people's Let's Plays, there's not really that much difference, other than maybe the play style when they go into the combat parts of the game. So that's another problem. And all the cutscenes and the conversations are all so long. You can only roleplay something like that so far, and then it just kind of goes back to being very much the same for everyone else's Let's Play for that game. I would be playing as an adept, and that would really be the appeal for it. If I was to do it, I would maybe start off playing it like regularly, and then you'll see it's just going to go into these long cutscenes, and I would just want to get to the next combat part of the game to record it, so you guys could see that and see how I play as an adept. I very much play like a mage, using things like, I think it was called lift, was it? Or I think it's lift, and then you throw, and you cast warp, and it causes an explosion or, singularity, things like that. That's the way I like to play, very much like a mage. The other thing too, I just remembered now, with Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon, it's, comparing that to something like Witcher 3, whereas Witcher 3 I feel is also very heavy with the narrative, and very, it has a lot of cutscenes, and even though there's a lot more, what is that word, like off rails, more, hold on. Yeah, that is the word. I had to think for a moment and let my brain. I'm very sorry. I'm so sorry about that. Linear. It's more non-linear compared to something like a Mass Effect, right? Where that feels a lot more linear, even though you can go to recruit whoever you want in whatever order, and things like that. And there's some side quests, but it all pretty much, comes to the same spot. It's the thing about with Witcher 3 is I've always, as cool as that is, I felt that I'm not really role-playing my character. I have to role-play as that guy Geralt, and plus that, and it's, you have to play it in third person, and I don't like, being forced to have to play as someone else's creation than my own, Geralt. So nothing against Geralt, but I'd much rather have him as an NPC than a companion. Someone to come along with me on my adventures than actually being forced to have to play as him. But at the same time, I like the world that Temeria that it takes place in. It's very lush, like your typical fantasy RPG. Unlike with Tainted Grail, it I could relate to this type of fantasy world. So in a way, it's somewhere maybe in between, Tainted Grail and Oblivion or Skyrim, something like that, but more towards an Elder Scrolls game. So just to give context, I would give so far still for Tainted Grail, like I said, I really like the game. I'm not trying to hate on that game, but I think I would give it maybe like an 8 out of 10, let's say, for and that is why the score of 7 that IGN gave, I thought was pretty fair. It's a pretty fair score, but for me, I would still give it an 8, higher than IGN. Let's say Oblivion, I'm going to use Oblivion Remastered as the reference point, to compare it with, because it's more of the newer game and around the same time as Tainted Grail. I would give Oblivion Remastered, I think I would give that like a 9.25, and then for Witcher 3, I think I would give that maybe an 8.25, like that. So anyways, yeah, so I'm putting Tainted Grail on hold, and and probably uninstall it to make room for the Wayward Realms when that comes, and maybe something else, something else I could think of. Okay, so hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, okay, see you. And thank you again, Chris. Thank you. I greatly appreciate it. I do really like that game a lot. I will not say I love the game, but I really like the game a lot and enjoy it. But just for now, I can't really fit it in. Okay, so thank you. And please, guys, head on over to Chris's channel, Cinematics 29. Thank you.